All right, so why do so many people hate this product? I absolutely love it. Total game changer for me for kayak fishing. Stay tuned to the end, find out why. All right, you guys, so if you're like me, you like to use multiple fishing poles while you're out there with your kayak. So this is gonna be a review of the Pelican Rocket Launcher rod holder. Holds 3 rods, 50 bucks. The question on this is gonna be, is it worth $50? And I bought this thing over 2 years ago on July 31st, 2022, and I've been using it regularly with that kayak right there. We're gonna get into, is it even worth it? Okay, so here it is. This is what it looks like. Now, we don't do unboxings here on this channel. What we do is we use, and some would say abuse, equipment for a while before we do a review, because we wanna see how it really functions. And you'll notice one thing about this one, yours out of the box will not look like this, okay? I had a little mishap, and I'll explain that, but it works perfectly. Now, here's a couple things to know about this. When you get this thing shipped to you, it'll look like this, and this can fit in the back of your kayak, the normal rod inserts that everybody has or most kayaks have, and then you get this additional add-on piece which you can use, and there's a few different ones that come with it to fit different size of kayaks, but that made it fit even better. And let me show you why you would even want one of these things, what it's for, and what it does. Okay, so why would you even need one of these? I mean, if your kayak comes with a fishing pole holder there, fishing pole holder there, most containers for kayaks have fishing pole holder options there. I mean, you could also get a fishing pole holder that goes along the side of your kayak. I didn't want that. They do sell those because I dock in really treacherous areas sometimes in high wind, and I just didn't want anything on the side of the kayak. Plus, I don't want to lift a fish over it. So I went with this thing. You can customize it to fit pretty much any kayak, but this thing slides in, and this one perfectly. What happens when you go underneath bridges? I mean, the whole point of a kayak versus a bass boat is you can get to those hard to reach places, but bridges are not required to be any certain height off of the water. So I use 8.5 foot fishing poles. So what happens when you put your pole in here and the tip of it is 8.5 feet in the air and you're going under a 5 foot bridge, right? So what do? Well, here you either have to just remember to take the poles out of there before you go under the bridge, which I don't always do, or you can just put them on your lap, which is work, or the easiest way is just to use this fishing pole holder like this, and you could customize how far back the fishing poles go. They don't have to stick straight up. You can turn this dial, and this is really solidly built. You could turn the dial to the desired distance you want the pole to go back, and now you don't have to worry about it reaching straight up and scraping the bottom of that bridge. You can get in your kayak and just rest assured knowing that as soon as you leave the shore, you can pretty much go anywhere, under trees, under bridges, and all your poles, and these all do that, all 3 of them do it, can all be leaned back and be almost flush with the water. I use fishing poles with really short stocks. This one was custom made by my dad a very, very long time ago to fit in our aluminum boats, which only had a little room behind the seat, so it had to have a short stock like that. In here, this thing is gonna just fall out in a second. Like comes right out. It's not made for a kayak. It fits perfectly in the fishing pole holder, however. Once they're put on here, they get grooved in place. So there's a groove on each side of these fishing pole holders that is firmly in place. You can see how secure the fishing poles are in that thing. They're not going anywhere. It's fairly breezy. Even if it were windy, they're not going anywhere. I fished with this pole routinely for 2 years in this thing. It's never come out of it. All right, if this thing is so great, why does it have such bad reviews? Only 3 out of 5 stars. Well, if you click on some of these, you'll see that there's 2 complaints. One is that it falls out of the kayak. The whole thing allegedly falls right off of the kayak, and that sucks if that happened to you. We empathize. The other thing is they say it cracks, and mine did crack because I cracked it. It was my total fault, and I'll talk about both of those. Okay, so as for the issue of it falling out of the kayak, this thing comes with 2 different sleeves. This is one of the sleeves. This is the bigger one. It comes with a smaller one. I wanted to use the bigger one, even though it didn't fit in my kayak perfectly, so I had to cut it to customize it. This is just literally from using a knife to cut down some of these like ribbed edges on it to make it fit into the kayak. So it is really a solid fit. But cutting this down with a knife was all I needed to do for my Hobie. And I'll show you. We'll go down there and I'll show you what else I do to make sure this thing fits in there perfectly snug. All right, so here you go. This thing goes in here like that. Push it down, and it's in there firmly. This thing is generally not going anywhere. Okay, it's pretty snug. But it does come with these 3 bungees, and you could bungee each one of these to your pole if you want to. I never had an issue with this thing coming out, so I don't. I really just bungee the whole thing directly onto this container in the back, or I bungee it directly onto the kayak itself. Okay, and that provides extra security. And if this thing did come out, and it's never even come close, guys, to coming out for me, it's never come close. Between this and that snug fit, you are totally fine. Now, the other thing is this thing cracking. Let me talk about that. All right, so I did crack this thing. It's not supposed to look like this, as you can tell. All right, there's a stem here that comes up about another inch or 2, and right there is where it cracked. On that small area there is where it cracked. And to fix it, all I did was I lowered it about 2 inches and drilled a hole through it and re-secured it. But why would it crack right there? This is what happens. That gets weak when you make the mistake like I did of when you go to secure this thing, instead of pushing from down here like you've been seeing me do to secure it, I was pushing from up here. And when you push from up here, this is just plastic. You're going to wear that out. It's going to get worn out. It's going to break eventually with your poles on it or something. Don't push from up here. Push from down here. If you push from down there to secure it, then it's in place. It's fine. It's made to support your poles, but it's not made to support your body weight. I'm 200 pounds pushing down on it. But if it is bungeed in place, even if it did break, you still wouldn't lose your poles. I mean, seriously, guys, I used that kayak in all weather conditions. High wind. I even used it as an icebreaker. All right, this is definitely my first ice-breaking launch. All right, so why is this thing such a game changer that I've been saying? Well, here's the thing. When you put it on one side of the kayak, it completely frees up the other side, if you're sitting there, to cast. So when all of your poles are off on one side, your casting lane is completely open here. You don't have a pole right there anymore. And that has made a huge difference because I didn't realize how much bandwidth I was using to try to gauge exactly where am I going to hit that pole when it goes back. Now I don't have to think about it. Just swing it all the way back. You can have a fish that you fight all around the kayak. There's a fish on the line. And so you have a much wider area here on your dominant side. Same thing, now I'm left-handed. If you're right-handed, same thing. Just pop it over to the other side, and now this is your dominant side, and you get your casting lane 100% open. Absolute game changer. And that's it. We try to make these reviews right to the point, get right to it, don't waste any time. Hope that helped you guys. Make sure you subscribe and like for other really candid reviews. No unboxings here, I promise. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.